All right, Madam Chair, the reminder has gone out. We did receive a couple confirmations of folks both attending, and we did have one individual say that they were not able to attend today. But we should have quorum, so we'll give it just another minute or two. Hi, Ileana, thank you for joining. Oh, well, she was here. Hi, Ileana, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Apologies for being a few minutes late.
No problem. Thanks for being here. I had the chance to meet your husband a couple weekends ago.
Yes, at the Saturday event with the light rail. Yes, he mentioned.
Okay, Madam Chair, it appears that there is a Zoom update that is keeping people behind. So we're getting there slowly but surely. And our agenda is not heavy today. So if you don't mind, if we can just hold out for a few more minutes until we get quorum, I appreciate everybody's patience. Thank you. Oh, there's Seth. Hello, Seth. It appears the link that went out was attached to Mimi's name. So if you are listed as Mimi on the screen, would you mind letting us know who you are quickly for quorum, please? If you just joined, would you mind letting us know who you are? We've got two Mimis, and I'm guessing it's another member of our committee.
Unless they tried to join with the browser because the Zoom thing was hard. So
sorry, that was me. This is Karen Bishop with the City of Chandler.
Thank you, Karen. Appreciate it. Okay, Madam Chair, we are still one shy of quorum, but we're actually, I think we're two shy. We are one shy. We will get there very quickly. Give us just 1 second.
Kelly, I can re-sign in if you'd like. I didn't realize that was going to create that issue.
No need at all, Karen. We're on the back end for you with our IT here just fine. Seth also, hold tight, care of it. Thank you. Hi there, if you just joined, would you mind turning your mic on for us briefly and just letting us know who you are? We are having a tech issue this afternoon. I believe it's Mary Lynn. Mary Lynn, is that you?
Yeah, and I'm homesick with kind of the flu,
Oh,
so I will listen in, but won't, I'll just say aye and vote, but
okay. Well, thank you very much, Mary Lynn. We appreciate you joining. You did help us reach quorum. Thank you very much.
okay, all right, I'm important, right?
You are very important. We appreciate you. Okay, Madam Chair,
you.
we are ready to begin the meeting. Thank you all for your patience today.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all for being here. Good afternoon, members of the MAG Human Services Technical Committee. This meeting is now called to order. It is being recorded and live streamed on YouTube as a way for members of the public to participate. Please state your name while making any comments or asking questions. I will ask that you keep your microphones on mute when you are not speaking. We will now begin the meeting with a roll call of all members.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Karen Bishop.
This is Karen.
Thank you. Kathy Chang on behalf of Jacqueline Edwards. Seth Dyson.
I'm here.
Thank you. Jerry Guajardo. Ileana Godinho.
Here.
Thank you. Susan Hallett. Mary Lynn Kasanick. Rachel Sanders. Kristen Charlau. Vice Chair Melanie Dykstra.
Here.
Thank you. And Chair Christina Panatescu.
Present.
Thank you. Madam Chair, you have quorum.
Thank you. Our next item is a call to the audience. This is an opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda or that are on the agenda for discussion and not action. Members of the public could submit written comments via the MAG website 2 hours prior to the meeting. Staff, do we have any written comments for this item?
Madam Chair, we do not have any written comments for this item or any other items on the agenda today. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next item is the approval of the December 14th, 2023 meeting minutes. Does any member of the committee have any questions about the minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Melanie with Gilbert makes a motion to approve.
And a second?
This is Seth, and surprise, I'll second.
Thank you, Seth. We have a motion from Melanie and a second from Seth. We will now have members take part in the voice vote by turning on their cameras and unmuting their audio. For those who cannot or do not want to turn on their cameras, we will conduct a roll call vote. Members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call vote. Can I have a voice vote from the members? Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye,
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Staff, do we need to take any roll call?
Madam Chair, you do not. The minutes pass. Okay.
Great. With a motion and a second, the motion passes. Now, we are definitely looking for some participation from our members on this next topic. So I encourage you to put your listening ears on and your thinking caps, because we're anxious to hear what you all have to contribute to the conversation. In December 2023, MAG was notified that JP Morgan Chase awarded $500,000 to a $500,000 two-year grant to regional community partners, the 501c3 agency within MAG. The grant will support the launch of housing opportunities in mentorship and education, also called HOME, technical assistance. Through the HOME TA program, local and tribal governments will be able to receive customized support from expert consultants to build and preserve housing that is affordable. An inventory is under development reflecting technical assistance needs with input from local and tribal governments and housing stakeholders. And we're anxious to hear where you see those needs. Input will be invited from this committee on the inventory, and an overview of the grant scope is going to be offered. So this includes discussion on the role of this committee in overseeing the implementation of the technical assistance, as well as what should be included in the technical assistance. Amy St. Peter, Executive Director of MAG, will present on this item. Amy?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and members of the committee. We are very excited to be with you today and to be able to get your input in regard to this new grant. So we have received this $500,000 grant from JP Morgan Chase Foundation. This is a 2-year grant, so that gives us a bit of time to really be able to dig in and to address the most important interest that you have as it relates to affordable rents and mortgages, particularly when it comes to both the building of affordable housing as well as the preservation of affordable housing. So the purpose of our presentation then today is to offer that overview of the grant so that you can really fully engage and to really get your feedback. In just a few moments, I'll turn it over to Sapna, and she'll lead you through a facilitated dialogue in that respect. But first, I'll offer a quick overview. So there are 4 main activities for this grant. The first one is the development of the inventory, and that's why we're here today. After receiving your feedback, we'll also be reaching out to others and then bringing the inventory to our Human Services Community Initiatives Committee next month, and then if need be, then bring it back to you. But it's really, really important that we have your feedback to help us develop this inventory of what your highest interest and priorities are around affordable rents and mortgages, because we want your priorities to really drive this process. Your input now and then throughout the project will just be really critical in that regard. So that's the first activity. It's the development of that inventory. The second activity then is that we'll use that inventory to develop a scope of work for a competitive request for proposals. We'll issue that to identify on-call consultants who have expertise very specifically in the areas that you've indicated are important to you. So if it's around building a capital stack, if it's around zoning, if it's around addressing neighborhood opposition, anything like that, and many more things, we'll make sure that we have the best consultants available to be able to address those priorities for you. That's the second stage. The third stage then is a matchmaking. It's you letting us know what you'd like to receive assistance in or what you have an interest in, and then we'll match you up with a really qualified consultant. You don't have to pay anything for the consultant. The grant funds completely take care of that. Now, that assistance can be given one-on-one, particularly if it's just very specific or maybe more sensitive. It can also be given in a small peer learning network. So if maybe a couple local and tribal governments share a similar interest and it's not too sensitive, they don't mind learning in that kind of small group environment, then we can have the consultant work with a small group. There may be areas of interest that are just across the whole region that everyone, or just about everyone, really has some kind of interest in. And then if that's the case, then we'll find a consultant who can offer more of a training that could be opened up to other stakeholders as well, similar to the quarterly webinar series that we just concluded last month in partnership with the Arizona Community Foundation and their Affordable Housing Collaborative. So there's any number of different ways that this assistance can be given, but what's most important is that it's driven by you. It's you letting us know what's of interest to you. There could also be best practices that we'd really want to highlight. So things that you're doing that are working, please let us know that as well, because we want to make sure that if you feel comfortable with it, we can share those best practices with other communities here. That's the third stage. The fourth and final stage then is pulling together a final report that reflects all of the lessons learned, the tools developed, the insights gleaned. We'll be able to offer that here regionally, but then also really hopefully across the country. We think that the housing crisis that we're confronted with here in our region is not uncommon to what others are experiencing throughout the country, and whatever we're learning can be used really beneficially in other parts of the country as well. So we'd love to be able to work with you very closely on this project, and we're thankful to your input both today and in the months to follow as we then implement this grant working with you. Kind of a brief note about the timeline, and then I'll turn it over to Sapna. So this grant is underway right now. We have the funds in hand. We hope to finalize the inventory next month and be able to issue that request for proposals. We'll ask if you'd like to serve on an evaluation team to review those proposals, with the idea that we would have consultants vetted, confirmed, identified, and then approved before the summer because our committees don't typically meet in July. And then in kind of the August, September timeframe, and this is a great idea actually coming from your leadership on this committee, we will hold kind of a mini conference where we would give an overview of the grant, an overview of what we mean by affordable rents and mortgages, the purpose of this grant, and then be able to have the consultants who have now been under contract give kind of like mini sessions in terms of what kind of assistance they can provide. So then when you're requesting the technical assistance, you've had kind of a taste from the consultants to see how they can help you, and then you can determine which consultants you'd like to work with or which topics you'd like to address. Any questions about the overall purpose of the grant before I turn it over to Sapna to talk about the inventory and to get your feedback on that?
That was a lot of guidance.
That is a lot. And happy to meet with anybody one-on-one as well. And if there's any kind of follow-up information that we can send, we're happy to do that as well. Okay, at this point then, I will turn it over to Sapna, and she'll walk you through the facilitated discussion around the development of that inventory.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Amy. Chair Panatescu and members of the technical committee. As Amy has indicated, this is an exciting opportunity to facilitate the delivery of customized expert technical assistance, including membership on the preservation of affordable housing in your communities, as well as attracting the construction of affordable housing in your communities. And like Amy mentioned, we're at stage 1 here. And so we are looking to get your feedback. The assistance, the technical assistance can range from, as Amy mentioned, from one-on-one to mentorship to small meetings, depending on the topic. And again, it will be delivered in very close collaboration with the communities. Now, at the stage 1, we're conducting outreach to identify the demand for the type and the topics for this technical assistance. We will be conducting one-on-one conversations, and we're also in the process of developing a survey that we will be sending out to all the communities in partnership with the Arizona Housing Coalition, and to really identify, again, what kind of training is needed and what short-term and long-term. So we are here today to get your perspective on your departments and teams' training needs as we look to develop this inventory. This is really a critical stage of this grant. And again, the goal is to preserve and develop affordable housing and get it off the ground. So I'm ready to take notes. We would like to learn your perspective on the training, for example, with staff in the community development department or planning or economic development need technical assistance, and what kind of technical assistance are they looking for? Is it for identifying parcels for affordable housing, or writing requests for proposals, or developing affordable housing friendly building and zoning codes, or perhaps engaging with the community or developing partnerships? So there's a lot of different areas that can use technical assistance. And again, what we'd love to do is to get your input today. This is a really an exciting time. And also, we will be developing surveys. So I'll be reaching out to you to see if you're interested in vetting our draft survey before it goes out. But before we go any further, I would love to follow up and open it up to input. And it can be on any of the topics or topics that we haven't looked at. We're at the goal where we're trying to understand what the needs of the community are. So thank you again for this opportunity. And Amy and I and my colleagues stand at the ready to hear your thoughts.
Thank you, Sapna and Amy. Seth, got any areas Surprise could benefit from?
Yeah, how long is our meeting? No, just kidding. We've done some good things out here, but I think one of the things that we were able to get accomplished is a housing study, and to be perfectly honest, I think landed with mixed reviews, depending on how you read the project. But I think for us, we needed to start with the data, and we needed to start with our inventory, just like what you're doing a little bit. So I would suggest that each community or regional communities could have their own housing studies. And we didn't think it up. I think we follow Tempe and Scottsdale. They did these things, and it creates conversation. And I think that's the most important part. about housing. But and I'll send you the link to our housing study, but it came up with some recommendations like you'll find also in the Arizona Housing Coalition is we need duplexes and fourplexes, so the missing middle component. And so I think training on how to tackle the density and parking requirements that prevent some of our missing middle would be I think good. I'm not talking about surprise, but just in general, I think that would be good to know. How do we overcome and how do you work around those things? Because I think there's a will out there in the market. It just seems like it's hard to get the projects to pencil where the current zoning is allowing certain parking. And so I think I'd start with that. And then, for us, we learn every project that we do. So I think, as a municipality, I think you look at land. Land is a big leverage. And so I'd like to maybe take an inventory on what cities have for land and property. So not just dirt, but maybe you have city facilities. I think as a young city like Surprise and probably Goodyear and all the newer communities, we don't have a lot of old buildings. We don't have a lot of maybe our own land. At least the Surprise doesn't. I think there's opportunity to create more affordable housing if we actually were able to help have some land. So that's just sets perspective. But land gives us a lot of leverage to open it up to nonprofit developers, other developers for specific affordable housing. So we can help drive it through that. And I think I'll stop there. Let everybody else chime in.
Thanks, Seth. Karen? Elena?
For us, it's a little different since we're Valley of the Sun United Way and our focus is in Maricopa County. We know that's one of the things that we've heard in the past from community that is needed as a focus area, which is why it's one of the primary focus areas for us as our United Way here focused in Maricopa County. We call our impact area housing and homelessness. And this is the one area we track every single impact area to showcase the progress where our donor dollars are going. And of all the different strategies and goals that we are measuring, this is the one area that we are in the red as a community. And again, our focus is the county as a whole. So we are very interested in exploring more opportunities. I was just in a conversation this morning with our VP and COO and others, where we've heard from our board, they want us to focus a bit more in housing and homelessness. So we are looking internally of how to do exactly that with some of the funding that we receive and how we can continue, just like you all are planning on doing, having some of those conversations. And we don't have any plans solidified, but we tend to go out and seek, we don't want to replicate anything that is going on, but I think there may be some opportunities for us again to collaborate or learn from what you all are doing so that we're not doing the same thing, because we are very interested in how we can support as a United Way, knowing that it's a very real issue that needs a lot of different community partners to be supporting the work.
Thank you. Karen?
Chair Panatescu, if I may.
Mhm.
Just wanted to follow up to say that what's going to be very helpful with this inventory is also an understanding of the landscape as to what kind of training is taking place. So we are very aware, for example, that the Arizona Department of Housing offers certain levels of training. And so as Ileana mentioned, we will make sure that we're not duplicating the kind of training and technical assistance that is available. Thank you.
So Christina,
Mary
I
Lou?
wanted to um, throw out a crazy idea. Would Arizona consider rent control? In California, they have rent control. That the landlord can only increase the rent, basically like there's a number and then plus the cost of living. But we have tons and tons of seniors who were paying $800 a month and now they have to pay $1,200 a month. And they can't afford to stay in their home anymore. And I know that Arizona is extremely conservative, but can we talk about maybe for people 60 or 65 and over who are at poverty level, that their rent couldn't increase more than the cost of living? And I think it's something we should look at because we're getting tons of seniors who are becoming homeless because of landlords feeling that they can increase the rent more than 50%.
Yeah, that's one of the areas where I also feel like technical assistance and education would be helpful, and that relates to, like Seth said about numbers penciling out. I think that it would be useful for a lot of policymakers and service providers who aren't already doing housing to see what it takes. Because, for example, if Goodyear wanted to do a homebuyer assistance program, it would be very difficult to find existing construction in our city where the sale price for a house would would work. We looked quickly on MSLS for homes under $300,000. I think there were 9. Most of them were mobile homes. They were 2 bedrooms. So if you look at what the 80% of area median income is, the subsidy that you would need to get someone into that home, like, would be too great for the smaller family unit, and we would need more larger properties in that price point available. So like the opposite of sort of the tiny home effect, we would need more family housing available. So showing that math on the chalkboard for people so they understand, and in contrast to or so that they can put that in the context of what comes out in their housing studies. Goodyear's planning to do one as well, and any CDBG entitlement community has the analysis to impediments that can be a part of also. So
Yeah, and I think the other thing we need to consider, and I'm not criticizing, Phoenix and Gilbert and all of that, but we say that people should not have to pay more than 30% of their income for housing, but we don't add in the utilities. So if, we know that Gilbert and Phoenix and APS and SRP are all planning on increases in utilities. So I'm a senior in my house or in an apartment, and then not only do my rent increase, but my utilities increase. And I think we need to look at that, is that when we say 30% of housing, it should not only be the rent, but it should also be the utilities, because we're finding many of our clients, it's over 50-60% of their income is spent on rent and utilities, like electric, gas, and all of that.
well, and as home prices and property values go up, then property tax goes up, and then fixed income by its nature does not go up. So
Yeah.
that's a risk for our homeowners, actually, who would otherwise probably be considered stable stakeholders in the community are at risk. Melanie, did you have anything for technical assistance suggestions?
So actually, we just completed a session with our community engagement task force, and actually they took on the topic of homelessness and low income challenges. And so I was actually just looking at, we just finished Monday and looking back at some of the notes and some of the things that we talked about. Actually, rent cap came up as one of the things, whether or not that's an opportunity to explore. I think for us, the zoning is a piece of it where we have some faith-based organizations that might be interested in trying to put maybe something within their properties or on their properties, but how does that impact zoning? Could there be templates that could be provided that really make that process faster and easier to get to, so that, you know, knowing what you're zoned for, if it is commercial and not residential, what would you have to do that? Does it still fit within the design of what's around you if they wanted to add something in? So I know, and the same thing with tiny homes, like where does that work on infill properties? How can that work? You know, what would we have to do that? And I know when we talk about, again, like even low income tax credit properties for Gilbert, we don't own a lot of our own land. We were not the major buyer in our community. So we don't own a lot ourselves. So what would that take us to talk to someone who is the major landowner in order to make that a product that is interesting to them or would be an opportunity? Because you certainly want them to be a philanthropist. However, they may not be willing to do that. So what really, again, it's those numbers. It's, you know, again, we looked at the same thing you said, Christine, about the home buyer, the down deposit thing. It doesn't work with the costs right now. You cannot make that work. And I know our group said trying to make it personal, looking down the line. What do you want for your college kid or your grandkid? Do you want them to be able to live in your community? And what does it take to do that? So I know it's trying to get to some of that more, you know, kind of personal information, you know, and even one of the things we talked about. So yes, we recognize our utilities finally, we were kind of charging the bottom of the barrel for ours. And as Mary Jo mentioned, they are going up. We actually now are trying to implement a Lifeline program ourselves in order to maybe provide an ongoing discount to someone where that's really impactful, you know, too. But overall, it's like the awareness of, if someone does want to help support that effort, you know, there are the qualifying tax credit programs, and some people still do not know about them. Half my task force didn't know about it. I'm like, how do you not know about that? An ability to, you know, donate to some of these nonprofits who are able to provide that back in direct service to somebody. So, you know, how do you get that message out better for people to be aware of how they can contribute really directly, which really gives these organizations the FLEC funds that they need to provide some of those types of things of support for like the rent and utility assistance. So I think that was, you know, and one of the things our group really has always been impressed with and would like to see more of is something like the House of Refuge, which is a transitional housing. And how do you expand that opportunity? Because the model for that is an opportunity to really get people really back on track. And then, yes, there's still the challenge of making something in, but that's a product that, you know, is part of that transition that really helps people get some of that stability, you know, going, and really put all the pieces in place in order to move, you know, to permanent housing. So I think that was mine.
Madam Chair, may I add something?
Please.
To Mary Lynn's point earlier about older adults, SEPNA and I have also been SEPNA has been working on our heat relief network efforts as well across the region. And we've been looking at data with the health department, and they shared some data with us this week that is really alarming about the number of older adults who are dying in their homes because they do not have enough money to pay for their home and their utilities during the summertime. And so keeping that in mind, I'm wondering, I know this group has discussed this idea in the past, and I don't mean to put any words in anybody's mouth. So if this is not an idea you want to move forward, just fine. But there has been some discussion here previously about a shared housing program that could also help match older adults who may be looking at homelessness otherwise or eviction otherwise, but finding a way to create a system where older adults in particular could come together to be matched for housing. So I'm just putting that idea back out here because you have discussed it previously.
And that's actually in place. I know that Ascend, I think TCA and Astra Aging already have that program. It is currently being grant funded in order to do the senior match as well. But yes, getting information, how successful is it? I know it's been challenging to do that, but if it does work, is expanding that model would be, or getting more people to be aware of it. But it is, I know it's a slow go to find the matches. I know that has been a little bit tough. So.
Well, and I'll just tell you, I don't know how many years ago, I've been at the Erie Agency for 43 years, but many, many years ago, we tried to do a housing match, and everybody wanted somebody to come in and share their expenses, but nobody wanted to move in with somebody else. And so I'm not sure. I guess we need to find out from Ascend how successful they've been. But I don't want to move in with somebody else. I want somebody to move in with me. And so, and then the other big thing on the shared housing is the important screening. Because at one time there's been discussion about having like college students move in or younger people move in, and you would have to do really high level screening to make sure that they weren't a predator. So, I mean, I think it's a great concept, but I don't know how successful it will be. I think one of the great things that we have heard about is they call them the granny, cottages or something, where somebody can build a little place in the back of their backyard so that seniors could move in there. I think that's a great idea, or convert their garage into a granny flat. Might be an idea. And I don't know, would we do a tax credit for people to build a granny flat in their backyard?
Karen, were you gonna chime in?
Yeah, I'll just try to knit together a few comments that have already been made. Attended a conference last week, and I know that there are other communities, to Mary Lynn's point, regarding rent caps and how they're integrating that into their fair housing analysis of impediments. I think that is something that we should consider and look into further. Also, just as we attempt to house individuals, just the need for more flexible funding. Many of our communities receive, federal funds that are highly regulated and restricted. We can help, for example, for now with rent assistance, utility assistance, but we can't always help if we don't have more flexible funds with the deposits that are required to go along with it. So that's something that I wanted to add to it. Certainly, we've seen an increase in serving seniors and families who are being displaced with the increase of rents. We do have a CARES team here. It was started during COVID times. We've continued it because we have just found that residents are just needing to understand how to navigate whatever their circumstances are, whether it is related to housing or for some other purpose, but to try to help them not get in such a crisis situation where they might already be evicted, but maybe they know of a neighbor or a friend, or maybe it's themselves needing some assistance along the way and trying to avert that situation before it becomes such a crisis. Again, in our community, we are landlocked. So in terms of development, we can only look at how we can restructure buildings within our community. We do have an affordable rental housing project currently underway. It involves a RAD conversion, so we're converting some of our public housing, but we're also increasing the number of affordable rental units within the city as well.
Thank you.
Oh, and one other thing, I would just say, increasing case management support within the city. We do have a public housing authority. But they are limited in what they can do. So we have a housing stability team here that is working with our public housing staff to really work with individuals who are needing housing and helping them walk through that in a way that our public housing staff are not able to do so on a daily basis.
Thank you. Seth?
I've got to step off in a few minutes, so sorry, but I think for the inventory, to piggyback on Karen, we will have a rental crisis coming when all the one-time funds that came out through the pandemic. And so I think the fastest way to help with affordable housing is keep people housed in the units that they're in. So I think, and that's not a local decision typically, that's got to be a state or federal solution. So I think I'd be interested in discussing that as part of the inventory or training opportunities or advocacy. And then finally, my last thought was, we get to attend great meetings like this, and MAG does a tremendous job of giving us data, but I think we've got to get that out and help MAG get that out to the community. So it's MAG gets it to us, but I think so for the inventory, I would suggest maybe coming up with some plans to distribute some of those studies and community engagement at the street level and HOAs and different places. So when they say they don't like a certain type of housing, or they do, they actually understand the dynamics of the current market, where we've been, and what it takes to actually get it done, what the pipeline looks like. I love the slides that you guys shared with kind of what the new units are coming in. So I think you could help us as cities, maybe help us get that word out, and how best to do that as a toolkit could be very helpful. So. And sorry, I have to leave early, Chair.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you. Kelly, is there anything we need to take action on before we lose quorum?
Madam Chair, we do not have any other items to vote on this evening, except for closing the meeting. So
Great. Awesome. Thanks, Seth. Okay, well, thank you all for your contributions. Amy, Sapna, did you get what you were hoping for? Awesome.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair, and thank you to the committee members. We have received a tremendous amount of information, and we look forward to following up with you. We will also be developing a survey, as I mentioned, and we are soliciting volunteers who will vet this survey that will go out to the communities. And so we'll be following up with you when that survey is ready for review and vetting.
Awesome.
Thank you again. This input is invaluable.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was a great meeting.
Thank you. So we got one more thing here. The Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant Program, housed by the U.S. Department of Energy. It's designed to assist states, local governments, and tribes in implementing strategies to reduce energy use, to reduce fossil fuel emissions, and to improve energy efficiency. A number of Arizona municipalities are eligible to apply, and Kelly is going to help us out by leading us in a discussion on the EECBG program. Kelly?
Madam Chair and members of the committee, per a request from a member at the last meeting, we did look into this further to try to determine what communities across our region are either applying for this funding currently or have received this funding currently. We did reach out through our transportation arm at MAG to the city of Phoenix, specifically to the Federal Infrastructure Implementation Area. We were able to speak with Larry Smallwood in the city manager's office, and he let us know that the city of Phoenix is eligible for funding under both Alternative 1 and Alternative 2 of this current fiscal formula of the EECBG funds. It gets complicated with acronyms here very quickly, so If you would like, I'm more than happy to send you notes on all of this information. He said that the City of Phoenix Office of Sustainability is currently working on submitting an application for solar projects using these funds. And he said, aside from Phoenix, he knows that Tempe and Mesa have also both been working on funding applications, but he was not aware of any other agencies who are applying for discretionary information. We did try to contact the federal agency and we were not able to get any additional information about regional applicants. However, what I would encourage is that if your municipality is interested in possibly drawing down these funds to, and again, I will send this in the notes, but there is a federal website, which is energy.gov. There is more information on there. They actually host open office hours. So you can schedule time with one-on-one with a federal official to walk through if you are interested in applying, or if you're trying to figure out where your application is at, et cetera. They also host monthly events. Their website is pretty simple and it's very easy to understand. So I would encourage you, if you're interested in applying for these funds and you need any assistance, please feel free to reach out to the MAG staff. We're more than happy to help guide you in the right area, give you the information that we have available. But Madam Chair and members of the committee, that was the information we were able to gather on this topic.
Thanks. Melanie, did you have questions?
Do you remember how much funding was available, Kelly? Is it a total or is it a formula based per city? And every city's has the option?
There are 2 formularies available. There was not a total number given on the website, but I did look at the 2023 recipients. There were 12 cities nationally that received big grants, none in Arizona. I don't know if there was anybody in Arizona that applied and wasn't awarded, but they do have a map up of the 12 locations and the different projects they're currently funding.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'm available for any other questions.
I have a question. It's gonna make me look stupid, but won't be the first time. But there's also CPRG. I think MAG is involved in that.
CPRG.
That's a climate pollution reduction grant.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Do you want to talk more about it?
Is that on the agenda?
No.
And if we have quorum, we should probably be adjourning the meeting at this point.
Okay.
So, but if it's of interest, we're happy to follow up with you after.
Okay.
No,
So
I'm good, but I just was getting the 2 conflated, so they're
Yeah.
different things, right?
is
That
it
is
on the agenda to bring other topics up?
Yes.
Okay.
So if there are no questions about the ECBG, thank you, Kelly, for looking into that for us.
Unfortunately, Madam Chair, I think because we no longer have quorum, we need to call the meeting. I apologize
Okay.
for a matter of open meeting law, because we no longer have quorum. We do need to, unfortunately. Stop. But we
But-
appreciate your participation today.
Well, but can we go to what other topics we want to discuss?
I would
Or is-
say if you have any topics you'd like to discuss in a future meeting, to just email them to Kelly.
Okay.
And we can discuss I can discuss those with her about getting them on a future agenda. But it sounds
Okay.
like we need to adjourn this meeting since we don't have quorum. So thank you, Amy, for being here, and thank you everyone for being here. Sapna for your presentation, Kelly for your research, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys all at the next meeting.
Thank you for your patience.
Meeting
today. We
is
appreciate it.
adjourned.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.